cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
Well, they're currently trying to pull this semi straight so they can put it on the tow truck. This is southbound on the west side belt at about 700 north. Heavy delays all the way back to about Legacy Parkway at this point. Southbound on I-15 itself, also slow from the north interchange to downtown Salt Lake City. If you're northbound in the Salt Lake Valley, you're going to find some congestion from Midvale up to about Murray at this point. And then this storm has, I'm sure, done wonders for the ski resorts, and it's showing on the traffic. Very heavy trying to get into Little Cottonwood Canyon. Also up in Park City, you're going to find your usual delays as you try to make it to the ski resorts there. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Valley rain and mountain snow all day today, our high 45. Tonight we'll get down to 34 degrees, and then tomorrow the rain makes way for mostly clouds with a high of 42. Right now we do have rain and 43 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The movie show is a Friday tradition, and it still is. Make sure you're listening for the new KSL movie show after Dave and Dujanovic. We have our favorite movies and a few stinkers. 11 this morning on KSL News Radio.
It's finally Friday, and this is Dave and Dujanovic. Conversation and insights on the stories Utahns care about most. It's Friday on KSL News Radio.
Well, the story we tend to care about most on a day like today, Groundhog Day, is if a groundhog saw its shadow or not. So Dave's got an update on Puxatawny Phil.
Puxatawny Phil, which still may be the largest groundhog ever in existence. This is the fattest groundhog there is. He sees an early spring. Early spring. So thanks, Phil. We need the water, but you see an early spring.
No shadow.
No shadow.
Okay. Early spring it is.
All right. It's 9:07 and brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union. It is time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Right at the top of our 10 o'clock hour, we're going to have an important live conversation with U.S. Representative Celeste Malloy. She's just in the first few weeks of her job representing Utah back in Washington, D.C. She's stopping by studio. So face-to-face, we'll have this conversation with her about this pitch that she has to reach across the aisle, meaning to Democrats, get Republicans on board to help uplift and finance, to some degree, women-owned businesses. I love it. I cannot wait to hear more about it.
I had no idea that 5% of federal contracts are supposed to go to small women-owned businesses. Now, if you're scratching your head a little bit trying to think, okay, how much money are we talking about? Billions and billions and billions of dollars that are supposed to be headed directly to women-owned businesses. But here's the key: small women-owned businesses.
Countdown. 2.
In 30 minutes, we're going to enlighten you with our fresh perspective on one of the biggest stories that we've been tracking. Think of this. Let's wrap our heads around this for a second, Dave. In less than, let's say, 2 months' time, Utah has become the prime choice to host the 2034 Winter Olympics. We have been courting Major League Baseball's Oakland A's, at least to temporarily play in South Jordan. We're now courting a National Hockey League team. All of a sudden, it feels like Utah's grown up. I think it's a good thing, but I don't know. Maybe you don't.
We did it.
Maybe it's too much.
It can be a little overwhelming. There's so many things. It's so much easier when you can just focus all of your attention on one relationship, right? How well do you do dating multiple people at the same time and trying to juggle all those? Balls are in the air all over the place. That's exactly what's happening right now. We have so many opportunities, so many options. Are we spreading ourselves too thin? I hope not, but it kind of feels inevitable. It feels like we are.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
How about this, parents? No more 6-month waiting period for new teen drivers to take a friend along in the car with them. At least if this proposal makes its way into the state law. Once a 16-year-old gets their license, they would be allowed to have one buddy in the car with them.
Our kids are doing this. They are driving with other friends, and they're breaking the law, so maybe the law should change.
This is absolutely true. I've had a steady stream of 16-year-olds, 3 in the past, several years. I've seen this. It is a temptation. The kids just jump in, and so they're absolutely breaking the law. I'm also kind of on board with the law. New drivers are bad drivers. 16 years old, they're bad drivers. I've yet to have a 16-year-old get their license and think, you know what, you're good at this. They have some growing pains, and then when you add their friends into the car with them, the distraction skyrockets.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Representative Kara Birkeland took the words right out of my mom's mouth. I think the majority of Utahns aren't following this law. She's pitching this plan to change the law as it is now that prohibits new teen drivers from putting friends in the car. So I think it's happening already, and I think it's reasonable to consider allowing at least one kid, and that's what this law would do, Dave, one buddy to go along with your new team driver in the car.
We're sending a little bit of a mixed message to our kids. We're giving them the license saying, oh yeah, you're able, you're competent, you're capable. And then we say, yeah, but for the next 6 months, we don't trust you, which realistically, I do not. I do not trust them. So maybe that speaks to the bigger problem is we're putting unprepared drivers onto the roads.
Let's get a little more on this story from KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston. It is a new proposal on Capitol Hill. It is our top story today.
State Representative Kara Birkeland says this is about practicality.
It's very common, especially in rural communities, when your kid's going to drive a half hour into a city, to carpool, to have them ride together. I know as a mom, I don't want my 16-year-old driving at night by herself.
Birkeland proposes letting 16 and 17-year-old drivers take just one non-family member with them in the car. No wait period needed. This rule change would fit national standards, according to Utah Highway Patrol Colonel Michael Rapich, because it's a single passenger. However, the Utah Zero Fatalities campaign notes that teenage drivers are twice as likely to crash when a friend is in the car. Peter Johnston, KSL News Radio.
And why are they more likely to crash when the friend's in the car? They're the distraction. And new drivers need complete and total attention on the road, and that's hard to do.
Let me give you the numbers. They're shocking. In 2022, according to the Utah Highway Patrol and the data that they keep, drivers under 20 are number one for car crashes. 15,000, a little bit more than that, in 2022. Their parents, or at least people who are old enough to be their parents, cause half as many, about 6,000 crashes. Their 85-year-old plus grandparents cause fewer than 600 crashes that year.
Wow. Hold on.
Yeah.
You're telling me my 85-year-old grandmother
she's behind the wheel
is a safer driver than my 16-year-old?
Yep. That's according to this. I studied this chart, Dave. I even put my reading glasses on for it. Yeah.
Well, that's terrifying.
It's staggering. It is staggering. So there's a lot to consider here, a lot more than just convenience. It is very convenient, and just having raised 3 kids and taught each one of them how to drive, I know how scared they are behind the wheel when they first start driving. It always concerned me that this idea that, they could have more than themselves in the car. But I know for a fact, come on, I'm not fooling myself, I'm not fooling you to say not everybody follows this law. In fact, I'm willing to bet the majority of parents give their kids a pass to allow them to drive with a friend in the car. I'm also going out on a limb and saying your kids are lying to you if they're telling you they're not putting a buddy in the car. But there is a lot to think about. Would you be willing, for example, to allow your child to drive with a buddy, one friend, if there was an app on the phone that allowed you to track their driving? If they were speeding, how fast they were stopping.
Oh, I love the technology
Were
aspect
they
to it.
using their cell phone There's an app for that. I'll give you more details on that app that I tracked down this morning. I think this is it could be a game changer for a lot of parents if their child put an app on their phone and you were able to see at any time, how they were doing on the road. Let's take phone calls as well. Live phone calls straight ahead for this Friday. 801-575-TALK. Parents, are you willing to let your 16-year-old brand new driver drive behind the wheel with a buddy in the car? 801-575-TALK. It's just one friend, but are you willing to give in? 801-575-TALK.
Finally, Friday.
A sweet sounding voice left me without a choice. Both sides of my brain reported the same.
With Dave and Dujanovic.
I cannot resist her siren song. I cannot resist her siren song. I cannot resist her siren song. I cannot resist her siren song.
Now we know.
November 9th, 2024, BYU and Utah will play in Salt Lake City.
281 days until the rivalry game.
Touchdown, Cougars!
281 days of anticipation.
And the Cougs are right back in it.
Hear about the key matchups and feel all the emotion on this station. We are Utah's legacy home for the Cougars, Big 12 football, and Rivalry Week. KSL News Radio.
Can an insurance bot ever really understand your needs?
Do you think I'd benefit from bundling my auto and home coverage?
Searching for homes with car dealerships nearby.
Sure, robots listen, but do they understand you? At Farm Bureau Financial Services, we'll help you save money and time by bundling your auto and home insurance. Find an agent at fbfs.com/protect. It's your future. Let's protect it. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
The Utah Department of Health and Human Services wants to make sure people in Utah can live safe and healthy lives. To do that, they need to understand which services people can access in their communities and what barriers they face to accessing services where they live. For this survey, they want to hear from people in Utah, specifically people older than 60, adults with disabilities of any kind, or caregivers and service providers of older people or adults with a disability. The results will be sent to the Division of Aging and Adult Services so they can better meet the needs of people across the state of Utah. Take this survey at utahcommunitysurvey.com or by calling 800-293-1538, extension 1610. All information will remain anonymous. Again, that's utahcommunitysurvey.com or 800-293-1538, extension 1610. 800-293-1538, extension 1610.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, employers added 353,000 jobs last month. Second, all is well in a West Valley City neighborhood after someone spotted a mountain lion hanging out in a tree. And third, a political action committee is not happy with the new flag, and they're petitioning to revert back to the old one. Right now, rain and 43 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Oh, I love that the phone line's lit up on a Friday morning for Dave and I. We can't wait to take your phone calls on this legislation that's being proposed on Capitol Hill. Your kids would no longer have to wait, or your new teen driver would no no longer have to wait, if this proposal passes, 6 months to take a buddy along in the car with them.
So my initial reaction is this is going to just clarify things. Kids aren't going to have to hide and sneak behind their parents' backs and drive their friends around and give them a ride home, because that's what's happening right now. I get why the original rule was put in place, because new drivers are bad drivers. But I think that speaks more to the entire system if we're putting unprepared drivers out on the road. Then maybe we need to make it a little more difficult to get your license. Maybe you need to be exceptional before we give you the green light to go on your own. So that being said, I will say the difference between a brand new driver right now at 16, because I've just finished this up, right? In the last few years, I've done this several times. The progress they make between day one driver and 6 months later is night and day. They are so much safer than day one.
Michael from Harriman, would you put your new teen driver in a car with a buddy before the 6 month waiting period?
Probably yes, but I do think they do need more experience driving before they're out on the roads. But I did have a comment about your 85-year-olds. I don't think 85-year-olds are out on the roads in the middle of rush hour and all that when
it could be absolutely true. So. It could be true, but it's worth comparing. Absolutely could be true. They're not in rush hour. They're not trying to get to a high school basketball game or something like that, and they're trying to get there in enough time. 100% true. Tatum from Provo, how do you feel about this?
So whether the law passes or not, I'm pretty confident that a lot of insurance policies let you have this tracker that you're kind of talking about.
Yes.
And it can reduce the actual cost of your, because it's a lot. It can be a lot to add a teen driver onto stuff. So I think if the bill does pass, the peace of mind knowing that not only is your kid insured or whatever it is you're going to do, if an accident does happen with this law, then there's a way to get around to get them covered,
Thanks, Tatum.
Yeah, thanks for the phone call. Stacy in South Jordan, what do you think?
I think I watched the bill last night go through, and I think it was ridiculous. First of all, Kara, her experience didn't even match what she wanted the bill to do. She had kids in the car and four friends in the car. She's asking for one. Doesn't make any sense to me. But the statistics say from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the greatest chance of crashing for teens occur in the first 6 to 12 months after receiving a license. And then they also say that having one passenger doubles the risk of having them in a crash. Having two or more, that triples. It's ridiculous to create a law that's putting our kids in danger when we have a law that keeps them safer. We as parents need to follow rules and just let them, 6 months. My teen just finished his 6 months. And did he hate it? Yes, he hated it. Did he follow it? You bet he did, because it keeps him safer.
Stacey, thank you so much. Appreciate your perspective. Also appreciate that you followed the process so closely last night. It does look like it cleared at least one hurdle. And originally, my understanding is that Representative Birkeland was kind of in for, I don't want to say an unlimited number of friends being in the car, but, perhaps as many friends as the car could fit. That has been scaled back to one friend. So there's already been some compromise on this legislation, but maybe for a lot of folks, that's still an eyeball roll. One friend is too many. We know from statistics that there were 15,000, a little bit more than 15,000 car crashes with somebody under the age of 20 behind the wheel in 2022. And the car crashes, the older we get, the less likely we are to cause a crash. So the statistics are clear, as Dave said. Teen drivers are the worst drivers for a lot of different reasons. You said they're bad drivers. I think they're scared drivers.
Definitely. They're scared, and maybe that is what makes them bad. They're scared, they doubt themselves, they're inexperienced. I understand all of that, and we're taking your phone calls, 801-575-TALK. We want to hear from you. Is this a good idea to get rid of this 6-month waiting period where your new driver can't drive with their friends? Okay, so we have one more phone call.
We have lots
right
more
now.
calls. Let's get to the phone lines. Yeah.
Is it Nick?
Hi, Nick.
Hi. Yeah, so I think just responding to a couple comments. The first comment about the tracker and the app, those are helpful, but they don't solve the problem. It's going to measure the speed, but it's not going to be able to detect or monitor distraction in the vehicle. And so I think that creates a big blind spot. Furthermore, at the end of the day, we got to remember what the core intent of this law was. It was to save lives. If there's going to be any compromise, maybe it is to have an additional 6 months where that driver has to be that single driver without friends, and then maybe from there have a single passenger. But these teens, it's a new experience. They need to acclimate to that driving experience, to home in on their senses and to their awareness, create that baseline, and then from there add in maybe one friend, and then allow them to drive however they choose. But from the get-go, we just got to remember it's about saving lives, not about whether they're breaking the law or not. It's to save lives.
So Nick, thank you so much. Make sure you're listening to this next bit of research that our research department here at D2 did when you brought this up. So they just gave this to us. And this is from the Deseret News. It was an article from 2003. So we're looking back, 21 years when the law originally went into effect. The Utah's graduated driver license. I'm going to quote from this article. Nationally, 2/3 of teen passengers killed or injured in crashes are passengers in vehicles driven by other teens. But according to the Intermountain Injury Control Research Center, again, this is a 2003 article, the numbers are worse in Utah. 85% of hospitalized crash victims ages 15 to 17 were in vehicles driven by 15 to 17-year-olds. So back 20 years ago, you were spot on. We don't have the most recent numbers today, but we do know from crash analysis by the Utah Highway Patrol that 15,000 some odd crashes had a teen driver behind the wheel in 2022, or somebody under the age of 20. I should be clear on that. So, yeah, a teen driver.
Russ, hang on the line as we get to you, but I do want to say, when I listen to what Representative Birkeland wants to do, what pops into my mind is you're either ready or you're not. And what we're telling kids right now is when you get your license, you're not ready. That, I think, is a problem, that we are purposely, admittedly, putting kids out there that are not good.
And it's not fair to them either.
It's
As you
not.
said that, I realized it's not fair to be. And I also loved having the law on my side as a parent when my kids were asking me, Mom, can I take a friend with a buddy with me? I'd say, the law says you can't, but it's just I usually do it's 180 days away. It's not 6 months feels so much longer to a teen than 180 days. So it makes it easier to, I guess, win that argument with our kids that the law won't allow it. And there are fines and there may be other penalties. Like perhaps you could even get in a crash and lose your license for a longer period of time if the worst were to happen. So let's just stick with the law and let's get through the next few months, and then you're allowed to have one friend or two friends with you. I wanted to talk about that app that I found. A lot of parents already know about it. It's this Life 360, and for $8 a month, I wondered, would I feel more comfortable with my teen driver behind the wheel with a buddy in the car? And I thought, yeah, I probably would. And it monitors their speed. It monitors how fast they're braking. It monitors whether they're on their cell phone or not. And there are other apps. And Tatum also pointed this out. My insurance company made me download an app and asked me to monitor my driving for 6 months when I switched insurance companies. So that can happen already. But I thought maybe that would give me some peace of mind as a mom to allow my kids to experiment, which sounds really scary. So go ahead, take the next call real quick, Dave.
All right, Russ, I'm sorry. We're so totally out of time, but I want to hear what you have to
we have
say.
30 seconds.
I had 4 kids. 2 of them at 16 did wreck the car. I'm all for the law to keep it. The one thing I hear is, it's commuting and help other kids and what have you. Well, what did they do before they were 16? Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
They need to maintain that. The other thing is parents need to understand that you violate the law, or if the child violates the law, pardon me, that if they're in an accident and they hurt and or kill someone else, or they destroy someone else's car, what are the legal ramifications that they're going to maintain for perhaps years, let alone what's
Great
going to
points,
happen?
Russ. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of your phone calls. Dave, you have a final thought?
I think we need to re-examine the driver's ed program. If we're putting that many unprepared and unsafe kids, all these stats that you're throwing out there just tells me we're failing them in the driver's ed program.
9:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, there are 8 open seats on the Utah State School Board this election cycle. Senator Ann Milner sponsored the bill to make these elections partisan back in 2016. She says it makes sure that all candidates are vetted.
We have a caucus system that is set up both on the Democratic side and the Republican side, where candidates can be vetted, and there are people that really are looking at their policy stances on issues and determining who they believe the best candidate would be to stand for election.
The decision to make school board races partisan was a contentious one. It went all the way to the state Supreme Court back in 2019. Our top national stories now from ABC News. President Joe Biden is reacting to the January job report.
President Biden says the January jobs report shows that the U.S. economy is the strongest in the world, with another month of job growth and strong wage gains. The report from the Labor Department shows that employers added 353,000 jobs last month, far above expectations. The president says in a statement that it is, quote, great news for working families that wages, wealth, and jobs are higher now than before the pandemic, and says he will not stop fighting to lower costs. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Other news, KSL is following. Attorneys for the man charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students are asking for a change of venue. Brian Koberger's lawyers said he can't get a fair trial in the small community where the killings occurred. The hearing for the move is yet to be scheduled. Your money at this moment, the Dow is off 31 points. That's less than 0.1%. We're at 38,488. Coming up, expect some more rain in the valley today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:33. You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Paid for by government.com.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s, and less than 50 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-473-3993 and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-473-3993. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-473-3993 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-473-3993.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
Well, they finally got this jackknife semi straightened out. Now they're trying to get it up on the tow truck, and the right lane remains closed if you are southbound on the west side belt at about 700 north. Delays back to about 2300 north now, and they're really slow through there. That's really the only major slowing that we've got. I-15 has returned to regular speeds in both directions, north and southbound, along the Wasatch Front. Looking much better now at the entrance of Little Cottonwood Canyon. Also up in Park City, it's starting to thin out a little bit, although Kearns Boulevard still remains fairly heavy. Big O Tires is locally owned and operated in Utah. Now through February 19th, get up to $160 off select sets of tires after mail-in rebate. Big O Tires, the team you trust. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, valley rain and mountain snow all day today. Our high 45. Tonight we'll get down to 34 degrees. And then tomorrow the rain makes way for clouds with a high of 42. Right now we do have rain and 43 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, Dave and I want to offer up a fresh perspective on a story that we've been tracking for quite some time. It does feel like Utah has just grown up overnight. First of all, just a few weeks ago, early December, we learned that the 2034 Olympics are probably ours to lose at this point.
We did it! Congratulations, Utah.
Then you bring in the idea of the Oakland A's coming here temporarily to the new South Jordan Stadium that's being built. The Miller family courting a major league expansion team.
Friends and partners have joined together in a coalition to bring Major League Sports baseball to Utah.
Brian Smith, the current owner of the Jazz, now courting an NHL team. It feels like Utah has grown up overnight, Dave.
We have, for a very long time, just been so passionate about the sporting teams. I look up at the University of Utah, BYU. Every Saturday, you're bringing somewhere between 60 and 100,000 fans together into these stadiums. You're selling them out. People are showing up. The Jazz, wildly popular, filling up the Delta Center 41 times a year with 20,000 fans. So we have shown incredible support to our sports teams. What I'm worried about is there's only so many dollars out there to spend. I can only go to so many games. And if I have to choose between the Cougars, the Jazz, the Utes, NHL, baseball, and then the Olympics as a one-time thing, I just wonder if we're trying to grow too quickly.
The only thing we would be missing is NFL.
Yeah.
We would not, it doesn't appear that we're courting an NFL team, although the way this has all sprung up in just the last few weeks, think about this. When we left for Thanksgiving break for a few days on this show, we had no idea that the next 2 months would be filled with, I think, exciting news about the Olympics potentially and most likely returning to Utah in 2034. We've since learned about the, Oakland A's coming, or possibly coming to that new Daybreak Stadium that's being built in South Jordan. We know that the Miller family is courting an MLB expansion team, which would be a permanent fixture on the North Temple area on the west side of Salt Lake City. Here's where my mind goes next, is when you go big with sporting events, major league teams, you also attract what I think are even bigger things. You attract the NBA playoffs. You attract the NBA finals. You attract a potential for a World Series. If we could make the Oakland A's be good in the next few years, what's the odds that they would be playing potentially at our brand new stadium out there, Dave?
I think it's really a proof of performance. We have shown, without a doubt, that we can support the teams around here. That is not always the case. It usually is. But the Oakland A's are a great example. The community did not support the A's. That's why they're moving. They were having 10,000 people show up a night. Major League average is almost 30,000. So you have to have, and I'm not over exaggerating this. You have to have complete and total buy-in from the community, because as soon as the community loses interest, they pack up and they leave. Well, then you're sitting here with a $500 million stadium. What are you going to do with this? So when you bring somebody in, if you want to recruit them and you make these incredible investments, you can't miss on this. You can't miss on this pitch, because people have to support. Seattle is a much bigger market than we are. They lost their NBA team, the Seattle Supersonics, to Oklahoma City.
Yikes. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
I've actually forgotten about that move.
It's crazy because Seattle is this incredible city. It's booming. It's got everything. It's got the music. It's got the history. It's got the ocean. It's got Pike's Market. But they didn't support and they didn't rebuild the stadium. They didn't do enough, and they packed up and left.
For all the negative Nellies out there, I want to remind everybody about this moment. Well, there wasn't all those technical little goofs when it happened in 1997. That was such a big moment, and it wasn't just a Wasatch Front moment. This moment of the Jazz going on to the NBA Finals, it was like catching lightning in a bottle. It was so exciting that I remember we just all gathered around as a community, and everybody was behind it. Everybody was a Utah Jazz fan in those moments. And I would love it if our communities could come together as one community again. And if it's a sporting event that brings us all together, much like the Olympics did back in 2002, I have often said this, there has never been a finer moment as an entire community where we came together. Whether you could get into an event or not, it didn't matter. It felt like an electrifying atmosphere from Kearns to Salt Lake City to Ogden to Park City and beyond. Every single day, all 17 days of the Olympics, it was electrifying. And I believe that sporting events and big major events like that do more for us than just like take us to a game occasionally.
Yes.
It unites us.
I think if you were to ask people, how do you see your community? How do you see the state? Are we divided? Are we unified? There is no question that the nation, and even here in the state, I think there is a divide. I think we have, in part because of COVID, in part because of the political differences that are going on right now, we have been ripped apart as a community. And there is nothing, totally to your point, that can unify and bring people together like sports for whatever reason.
What is it, Dave?
Well, it's because there's a common good guy. And when you have a common good guy, then it's very easy. You can say, you know what, I may totally disagree with you on a million different ways, but this is one thing we can agree with, that we love the Jazz. And it's low stress, it's low impact. It really doesn't affect anybody's lives whether or not the Jazz win or lose. But it's something we can rally around. It's low stakes, but it's crucial. It's why we've had sports since the dawn of time. There's always been sports, and it's because the community rallies around it.
Dave and I talking about the proliferation of the potential to get Major League Baseball to Utah temporarily and permanently, an NHL team to Utah, fingers crossed, the Olympics back to Utah. What am I forgetting, Dave? This has all happened in such short order just within the last couple of months. I mean, we literally, like last August, would have had no idea that by, February 2nd, we would be talking about this in a way that it makes me feel like Utah is growing up. We're growing up. But let's take phone calls. 801-575-TALK. Is this a good thing? 801-575-TALK. Your calls straight ahead.
Finally, Friday.
A wild sunken paradise, forgotten beauty that would hypnotize. Lost under the sea.
With Dave and Dujanovic.
Fantastic tales of the sea. Another story of heroic feats. Fantastic tales of the sea. Facing monsters of the
Many people, Amanda, I think, start each new year with one of two resolutions. One is to lose weight. The other is to save money.
Yeah.
And if you struggle to do that in the past, UCCU has an automatic way to help you.
I have used these wonderful savings goals, savings accounts at UCCU so many times. In fact, I just set one up. It's so easy. You just go and you tell it, what are you saving for? So right now I'm saving for a senior trip for my youngest son.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell it, I have until June of 2025. I want to save this much money. And then it will tell you, all right, well then every month or every other week or whatever you want to do, you have to set aside this much and it will automatically take it out of your savings account.
You can have as many accounts as you want, name them whatever you want, and let's just say you want to save $600 this year.
Right.
$50 a month will automatically go in and you're reaching your goals. You haven't done a thing.
This is the way to save money and not feel it, which is a way to be successful.
So to get started, just log in to their online or mobile banking and click on any of the goals to begin.
UCCU.com. Utah Community Credit Union. Love where you bank.
The Utah Department of Health and Human Services wants to make sure people in Utah can live safe and healthy lives. To do that, they need to understand which services people can access in their communities and what barriers they face to accessing services where they live. For this survey, they want to hear from people in Utah, specifically people older than 60, adults with disabilities of any kind, or caregivers and service providers of older people or adults with a disability. The results will be sent to the Division of Aging and Adult Services so they can better meet the needs of people across the state of Utah. Take this survey at utahcommunitysurvey.com or by calling 800-293-1538, extension 1610. All information will remain anonymous. Again, that's utahcommunitysurvey.com or 800-293-1538, extension 1610. 800-293-1538, extension 1610.
Do you enjoy fishing, hunting, or just soaking in the beautiful outdoors? Then you need to check out the KSL Outdoors Show, airing Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and midnight on KSL 5 TV. Outdoors with Me, Adam Eagle, is a unique show that takes viewers on a journey through Utah's beautiful backcountry. Watch it live every weekend or find the Outdoor Show on YouTube, KSLOutdoors.com, Facebook, and Instagram. It's the KSL Outdoors Show, brought to you by Camp Chef.
So you're driving down the road and you see a guardrail. You ever wondered why we have them? Probably not, because they're usually next to a cliff or a dangerous bend. Your kids need guardrails too. Rules to keep them from activities and impulses that could hurt them, like underage marijuana misuse. It can change the way a brain develops, leading to higher dropout rates, memory loss, and more. Set guardrails. Have the talk about underage marijuana misuse today. Learn more at graymattersutah.org.
Boyd Matheson on the pitfalls of politics.
I think the biggest thing we all have to reject is the status quo. We have to reject the kind of politics that have been served up to us and that we've bought into. The biggest question for all of us is, what are we afraid of? And often what we're afraid of is losing power. Politicians often tell us, you can vote for whoever you want, but if you vote for someone other than me, you'll lose power, you'll lose influence. And we have to reject that. Our voting right is our most sacred and fundamental right. Vote for the best person, even if they're not in either political party. Some will try to convince you that's throwing your vote away and the evil, awful other side is going to win because of that. That's what they want you to believe. Because if you're functioning out of a position of fear, we all lose. You'll vote for the status quo, and that keeps the status quo in power.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a new bill could change some driver's license regulations, allowing newly licensed teens to have friends in the car immediately instead of after the 6-month waiting period. Second, suicide and crisis hotlines are struggling to stay staffed. The heavy phone calls are taking tolls on workers. Third, Connecticut will become the first state to cancel medical debt for eligible residents. Right now, it's 43 degrees and rain in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, before we get to our live phone calls about the question, is Utah growing up too quick? Is this a good thing with all of the, major league professional teams and the Olympics that we are courting? But first, it is secret contest time. I'm so excited about this. We have to remind our listeners that, look, we know you listen to our show every day starting at 9, and we're so grateful. Did you know we also have a podcast? We podcast our show every day. So we want you to be a part of this secret contest. It's super fun. What you need to do is find our podcast at kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen to the podcast, or, wherever you listen to your podcast. And then listen for keywords.
I give you the keywords. So listen to my dulcet tones. I will give you a keyword. I'm not going to give it to you now live on radio. You have to listen to the podcast. I promise you it'll be there. I'll give you the keyword. Then you text 57500. You send it in. You'll be entered. And then guess what? You could win some AirPod Pros.
Which is awesome. And we love you all so much. And we thank you so much for subscribing to our podcast as well. That we're doing this for the entire month of February, which, of course, is the month of love. So there you have it.
We love you.
Yep. And if you win those AirPod Pros, they could be a great gift for, your lovebird. Dave's looking at me like, what?
Yourself is what you're looking for.
Hey, let's get back to our in-depth conversation about Utah growing up. It just really hit me a couple of days ago. Dave and I have been talking about all of the different, professional teams that we've been courting, that this cropped up all at once. And for so many years, Dave, when I went home to Phoenix or I travel the United States, for work, quite often people would say, where are you from? Where do you live? I'd say Salt Lake City. And they're like, oh, that's the home of the Jazz, right? And you guys don't have really much else going on. Yeah. Well, then we got Real. Super fun games. Stadium's packed. People we love us some Real soccer. And then it felt like we were getting, we had the Olympics in 2002. Doesn't that count for something? Well, now we look, the possibility of the 2034 games.
We did it!
The International Olympic Committee just told us recently, it's ours to lose. So it looks like we've got that in the bag. We've got MLB baseball being courted, an expansion team by the Miller family. We've got the possibility that the Oakland A's will be playing here temporarily while their new home is being built on the Strip in Las Vegas. But is this a good thing?
Okay, first of all, I think it's a phenomenal thing because I'm a huge sports fan. But let me just say this. There is nothing that shows more confidence in Utah and what the private sector thinks about Utah than all of this sports talk. This is the best forecast into the future because there's no way you bring in billions of dollars worth of companies if you don't have absolute faith that Utah is going to support, grow, continue to lead the nation in so many categories. This is a great forecast, in my opinion.
John from Sandy, our producer wrote a little note by your name there. It looks like maybe you have a different take on this. What is it?
Yes. Let me preface what I'm going to say by saying I would love to see Major League Baseball here in Salt Lake. I've been a baseball fan for years and years. But anyhow, I don't think at the current time Utah has the population base to support a Major League Baseball team.
Super fair.
When the Utes or BYU play, they have like 5 or 6 home games during the year.
True.
And mainly students and alumni.
Yeah.
And the Jazz have like 42 home games. Well, Major League Baseball would be 82 home games a year because the season is 164 games.
Right.
and spread through the summer.
Right.
And I think in the summertime, people are up camping and they're up the Bear Lake. And
Yeah, we
they're
do
all
have a
over
lot
the
of
place.
recreational activities outside that kind of take people in different directions. That's a great point, John. So you don't think we'd fill up an MLB stadium for the entire season of home games?
Not for 82 games a year, no. And, most of the games are in the evenings. I understand that. But, still, that's, and especially during the week when a lot of people have to work the next morning.
Well, what I love about Utah, and I've always loved about living here, is that it stays lighter later. So my hope would be that there would be a buzz into the evening hours as we're hosting lots of home games. I would be very, very excited. I would be the first one through the gate at any Major League Baseball game here in Utah. So I'm hoping the A's come. I think that will be a good test run for us to see how all in we are and see if we fill up that stadium, which, by the way, we learned from the folks who are in the midst of building that new stadium out in Daybreak, that they would be willing to, and they expressed this to the Oakland A's, expand the capacity for fans from what it's being built for the Salt Lake Bees right now. So, I mean, we'll have a really good idea of how a permanent Major League Baseball team would do in the Salt Lake City area if the A's show up.
And, John, I would agree with you. Right now, I look at the population here in Utah. It doesn't feel big enough to have this many teams. Because when you look at New York, Houston, Chicago, Philadelphia, L.A., these are cities with millions of people. And we have 3.2 million in the entire state of Utah. Now, most of them live along the Wasatch Front here. But the question I think that's being asked is, what does Utah look like in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, 20 or 30 years? Well, you don't have to be Los Angeles. You don't need to be Chicago. You could be Phoenix. You could be San Diego. You could grow into one of those cities.
I'm going to pick your brain, Dave, on the fly here because you are our sports expert because you worked in the sports department for so long. Does Utah compare market-wise, market size-wise to any other cities that you can think of off the top of your head that you could give us an example of hope where a professional ball team has laid down some stakes in a smaller community and actually really taken off?
Yeah, there's not a lot of examples.
Not even Denver, like with the Rockies?
No, Denver. I mean, Denver's it's a little bit bigger than us, quite a bit bigger than us.
Okay, that's true.
So, I mean, I'm thinking more of the Tampa Bays, Green Bay. Even Tampa Bay is much larger. Green Bay is just NFL, so they don't have a basketball team that they have to support. They don't have a hockey team that they have to support. So a lot of these smaller towns, and quite honestly, big picture, Salt Lake is kind of viewed as a small town. They can handle one sports team, and they may rally around that like Green Bay has for the Packers. Absolutely.
Yeah, I get jealous of them.
The Jazz certainly have that. San Antonio Spurs. You don't have an NFL team in San Antonio. You don't have a Major League Baseball team in San Antonio. The big ones, it's the Houston Astros. It's the Texas Rangers. They're going to the big cities. So
not a real good comparison.
There's not a good comparison.
And even with Tampa Bay, I was thinking, well, it's close quarters there in Florida. You don't have to drive very far from another major community if you wanted to major city to go, watch the Tampa Bay Rays, for example. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
And Tampa has not done a good job supporting the Rays. In fact, they have been rumored to be moving for years and years. So it is absolutely crucial to prove that we can balance at least one.
Great phone calls all throughout the 9 o'clock hour. Thank you so much. It's so fun to be here on Fridays with y'all. Straight ahead, we're excited to have Representative Celeste Malloy joining us in the studio. She's here live and in person next, and she's got a pitch she's going to talk to us about to reach across the aisle to help support female-owned businesses. I am really excited to hear what she has in store. She's with us next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. All is well in a West Valley neighborhood near 40th South and 5200 West after somebody spotted a mountain lion hanging out in a tree. Daniel told the West Valley Fire Department he stepped out last night to make a phone call when he noticed something on a tree branch.
And I kept staring at it while I was talking and kind of seen the tail move. I'm like, that's a friggin' mountain lion. So I ran in to go get my dad and my brother to come out and verify it, and they both said the same thing. Yeah, what the hell?
Authorities were able to come in and tranquilize the cougar. Nobody was hurt, and the cat has been safely relocated. There's a political action committee trying to extend the time for people to oppose the new Utah state flag. KSL News Radio's Michael Commett has more.
This pack is called Are You Listening Yet? And they mainly argue entire packets of signatures to restore the old flag were rejected because some of these signatures in the packets failed to meet the deadline to sign. Adding to the problem, you're not allowed to sign on these type of things twice.
The old flag is still slated to be officially replaced in March. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. It's the official release date for Apple's new Vision Pro headset.
We've been working on this for years.
Apple CEO Tim Cook says it has a high price point, $3,500. Some people will just buy it, others will pay for it over several months. They can use it to watch TV, play video games, or chat with friends. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 58 points. The NASDAQ, though, strongly up, 238 points right now. And coming up, our KSL weather is going to be rainy for the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. A little experiment here that you can try in your home just for fun. Take 2 water heaters, run hard water through one and soft water through the other, then count how many years each one lasts. Now, of course, I can save you all that trouble because the experiment takes place every day in countless homes right here in the state of Utah. The result's always the same. Hard water makes water heaters and other appliances conk out years before they should. And that's why when Dee and I built our new home, I informed the builder that we'd have Connecticut put in our soft water. I just won't settle for anything else. With Connecticut, you'll use 2/3 less salt. All the mechanical design makes it virtually maintenance-free. And I'll tell you what, your water heater and other appliances will last years longer. All you have to do is contact my friends at Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. To learn more, call Connecticut. It's 801-576-8600 or log on to softwaterutah.com.
Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
Well, they got the jackknife semi all straightened out over on the West Side Belt, and he finally was able to drive off all by himself. So it's starting to look better there. You're still a little bit delayed as you head towards 7th North there. Also, we have an accident eastbound eastbound I-80 at Redwood Road. That's off to the right shoulder, not really causing any problems. But remember, the roads are wet out there, so use some caution as you drive around. Everything else is looking pretty decent along the Wasatch Front. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, rain across the Wasatch Front today with the snow level dropping to about 5,000 feet this afternoon. We could see more than a foot of snowfall in Utah's northern mountains by Saturday morning. And right now, we're looking at 43 degrees with a rain shower at 10:05. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Hi, it's Andy Farnsworth with a reminder about the new KSL movie show. Listen right after Dave and Dujanovic for me and Steve Sales. We'll tell you about the week's biggest movies starting at 11 on KSL News Radio.
It's finally Friday, and this is Dave and Dujanovic. Conversation and insights on the stories Utahns care about most. It's Friday on KSL News Radio.
And we invite you to jump on KSL News Radio's Facebook page right now and watch this conversation with Celeste Malloy, newest representative for the state of Utah. We're going to talk with her right now about women-owned businesses.
What are those? Stop it. They're my Spanx. They hold everything together. Why? What's going to come popping out?
And that is a female-owned business. Spanx is very successful, started by a female, and now Representative Celeste Malloy reaching across the aisle to help female-owned businesses. And something that I didn't know is that the federal government has a goal of awarding 5% of federal contracting dollars to women-owned small businesses each year, Dave.
And that is enormous amounts of money. Did a little research trying to figure out how much do we spend on federal contracts in this country? And sure enough, Government Affairs tracks this. The Fed spends $694 billion in federal contracts. So if you take 5% of that, that's $35 billion that would go to small women-owned businesses. That is an enormous amount of money.
Celeste Malloy, representative in the 2nd Congressional District here in Utah. Welcome back to Utah.
Thank you.
We know you've been busy since you were elected to Congress, and this is a priority for you.
Yeah, I'm on the Small Business Committee, so this is something that wasn't really on my radar until I started on the committee, and the committee was looking at it. And, to Dave's point, we probably shouldn't be spending as much money as we are in federal contracts. But as long as we're awarding federal contracts that help companies get a leg up, we have a goal of having 5% of them go to businesses that are small, starting businesses, and owned by women. But right now there's a loophole in that process that businesses have to prove that they're female-owned. They don't have to prove that they're small businesses. So there are businesses maybe like Spanx, it's a woman-owned business, but it's large and very successful now. Yeah. Right. And it shouldn't be competing in the same pool as these small businesses. So we're trying to close that loop to make sure female entrepreneurs are getting a chance to compete in these playing fields. And they even have a priority for areas that are mostly male-dominated.
Well, I love this women supporting women. I've always been a proponent of how can I help females, women, my friends be successful in whatever adventure they're moving into. And companies like Spanx, they start through a fluke. The woman who started that, and then it grew. It's huge. It is a world-known brand now. And this, to me, is so important. I just had a really good friend, one of my best friends, launch her own business. It's a one-woman show right now, and she's trying to do all of her own marketing. She's taking her product out to different events to show it off, and it is a tough road for any small business. Yep. So what's your vision for somebody like her?
So if if her business, whatever it is something that meets a need that the federal government has, then she can go compete for one of these government contracts. And she doesn't have to compete against really large established businesses. So the Small Business Committee is there to help small businesses. And this is just one of the things the Small Business Committee is focused on. But a new starting business doesn't have to compete with big established businesses that have public relations people and grant writers and people on staff who can just do this full time. Because you're right, when you're starting out, you're everything. And you've got to have a little bit of a, I don't even know what the word is, but an area where you can compete instead of having to be David versus Goliath all the time.
I'm absolutely shocked that this is even a thing. I would have just assumed the only ones that get federal contracts are ginormous defense contractors, with billion-dollar budgets. So the fact that you're saying that there is an opportunity, there are possibilities out there for the entrepreneur is quite shocking to me, to be honest.
Yeah, so I had my staff look into this a little bit, and we have a couple of them right here.
Really?
There's 2 in Davis County.
Wow.
That I've looked at. Vanguard LLC is in the Farmington area, and it's an IT business, and they've done work with Hill Air Force Base. So it's, we have a lot of entrepreneurs in Utah. We have a lot of female entrepreneurs in Utah, and it's not just multi-level marketing, that your high school friends are reaching out and trying to get you involved in the stuff they're selling. We've got businesses that are competing for government contracts. We've got one in Bountiful, DVO Consulting. She left a full-time position, 6-figure job to get into government contracting, and she's succeeding and doing a great job because she was able to take advantage of these women-owned small business programs. They call them WASBs, women-owned small business.
This is awesome. How do you think that I think for so long, women do it ourselves. We do whatever we can ourselves. We try to do all of the heavy lifting. Yeah. I think messaging might be a problem. Education also might be a problem. What's your take on that?
I think you're right about both of those. Probably when you're in this world, you start running across people who know about these programs, but you've got to start networking and connecting and meeting people to even know that these exist. So I'm glad we're talking about it on the radio because that's helpful. A few years ago, a female attorney who had a lot more experience than me, she's a judge now, told me there are 2 kinds of successful women. There are the kind who burn the bridge behind them because they want to feel like they're special and they're the only ones who could do it. And then there's the kind who improve the bridge behind them and bring other women along. And so what I'm trying to do is make it easier for the ones who improve the bridge behind them to bring other women along.
As I was reading up on this, because I was really starting from ground zero, it sounds as you were describing these big businesses, one of the things that they were doing is there's an element of self-proclaiming whether or not they are a women-owned business, the size. Mm-hmm. Can you describe that a little bit, the self-proclaiming, like, you know what? I am now a women-owned business primarily. We're going to make a little subsection in this big company and claim something.
Yeah. So the funny part is that they actually have to prove that they're women-owned. They have to be at least 51% controlled by women, and women have to be managing the day-to-day operations and making decisions. You can't just put someone's name on the letterhead and then take advantage of this. But they were just self-certifying that they're small businesses. So it wasn't that the loophole was keeping women out, but it was letting larger businesses in so these new small businesses couldn't compete. So we're just tightening that up. It's only 5%. So larger businesses have plenty of federal grants they can compete for, but this 5% is set aside for WASBs, women-owned small businesses.
What's considered a small business? Isn't it like under 12 or 10 or something like that?
I think it's fewer than 15 employees.
Fewer than 15. So some of these larger companies are coming in and they're just pretending to be, which sounds...
Yeah. And a lot of them switch over.
Yeah,
so you can imagine... a company like we talked about Spanx earlier, they probably started off with fewer than 15 employees. Sure. Now, heaven only knows how many they have. Yeah. We're all wearing Spanx, right? It's a household name.
I think I'm wearing Spanx as well.
Even for the radio, you've got to look good, right? And so at some point, these businesses transition out and they're not small businesses anymore. And that's a good thing. Then they don't need to be incubated. Then they're big enough to compete on their own and they can keep growing. And so the intention isn't to keep businesses small. It's just to help them while they're small.
That's fascinating. I love your availability, being willing to bring attention to what you're doing back in Washington, Representative Celeste Malloy. All right, you may not see this, but you did roll in with your swig drink here,
I did.
which is kind of like standard. I get that. What's your flavor?
I am a raspberry dream girl. It's Dr. Pepper with coconut and raspberry puree, and it is heavenly.
Do they have those back in D.C.?
No, I have not seen one in D.C. And if you could drink a donut, that would be this drink. And for some reason, whenever I'm on the radio, we always have to talk about what I'm drinking. I was in St. George and I had a Dr. Pepper with peanuts in it. And we spent half of my airtime talking about why someone would put peanuts in a Dr. Pepper. So I feel like everyone in the state of Utah has a real insight into my nutritional deficiencies.
What just happened here? You dropped this little nugget of you throw peanuts in with your Dr.
Not
Pepper.
quite full on Barbara Mandrell.
Yeah, no.
Not
but it
peanuts
is
in your
heavenly.
Coke.
If anyone who's listening and hasn't tried it, try it before you call me and tell me I'm an idiot.
Oh, this is cracking me up.
This has been great. Awesome. Enjoy your swig and
Thank
enjoy
you.
the rest of your day. How long are you here?
Until 0:30 on Monday morning. Then I've got to get back on a plane.
All right. Thank you so much, Representative Celeste Malloy, live in studio with us today to talk about her plan to give a leg up and support small female-owned businesses. Wasbees. Okay. Straight ahead, I got some really sad news last night. I was really shook by this. The first and only female attorney general in the state of Utah passed away yesterday. It just ripped my heart out because Jan Graham, she served for 8 years as AG, which in my view was never long enough, but what she wanted. She's an example of so much of integrity, yet of toughness. And there's something that she did in the 70s at BYU when she was getting ready to take the LSAT, the law exam, that it's just so memorable. Let's talk about that next.
Finally, Friday. With Dave and Dujanovic. Meet Aileen.
Hello.
Aileen suffers from FOMO.
Fear of missing out.
Missing out on her favorite KSL shows.
I really do.
Fear not, Aileen. Just bring up the podcast page at KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's Morning News, Dave and Debbie, Boyd Matheson, and Jeff Kaplan are all there. Plus BYU Cougar Podcasts, The Movie Show, and more.
No more FOMO?
No more FOMO. When you can't listen live, we have you covered at KSLNewsRadio.com.
It's the movie show, guys. The movie show today will be live from NPS stores. We're going to be at the Salt Lake location. In fact, we are at the Salt Lake location right now, and people are streaming in and grabbing all the good deals, Steve.
I can't believe it. When they open the doors, it's like a train of people coming through.
And I was like, oh, it's raining. I bet it's not going to be as busy today because of all the rain.
Oh, no.
Nope. But
we
why?
love
Because
it.
you guys have
We
the
love it.
Valentine's sale going on.
Yes, we do.
So, Julie, tell us about what are some of the big deals right now. First of all, before you tell us, we got to make sure everybody knows who doesn't know about NPS. 30 to 70% off retail on everything in the store every day. But Valentine's, we're going to get some extra deals on top of that.
Yes, but that's not grocery though.
Or not grocery, correct.
But grocery, we do a great job on that. We don't make we are competitively priced, and it's more of a convenience.
So
for
what
our
are some of the
customers.
grocery deals we have right
Well,
now?
let me give you. Yeah, let's get the grocery deals. Igor, do you want to?
I see a big thing of
I don't want to
delicious-looking
burn
red
his thunder out
fruits.
because he's really excited
Igor.
about this.
Yes.
And some green ones, too.
We have all kinds of apples, the 3-pound bag for just $1.99.
A 3-pound bag of apples for $1.99.
Or, it doesn't matter what, Granny Smith, Galas, Honeycrisp.
Ooh.
We have all kinds. $1.99.
What about pears?
Pears, you won't believe it. 3
I
pounds.
don't
tell Julie. Don't tell Julie.
Okay, I won't.
99 cents.
99 cents. I love pears. Oh,
For 3
those are so
pounds.
good
99
fresh
cents.
and canned.
Mhm.
Oh, man. this is when you stock up.
Yeah.
Oh, and
okay, and
you
you've got some strawberries here. These were the ones that I saw first. Red, luscious, delicious-looking strawberries.
Yeah.
These are $5 in any store here, $2.49.
$2.49 for weight. And what's the size on this? This is the 32-ounce, 2-pound strawberries.
And they are going fast.
I may have to secrete some to the side for me for when we get off the air later. So this is at NPS. They've got 4 locations, 3 with grocery. We're in the Salt Lake location at 1600 Empire Road. We've got 1150 North Main in Layton. Grocery deals there as well.
Grocery, that's all NPS pricing, so they need to come check out. Before they go to any other store, they need to go to that grocery store there up in Layton.
Excellent. So Layton, 1150 North Main, 475 North State in Orem, and here at 1600 Empire Road in Salt Lake City. NPS.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-859-3220. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-859-3220. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-859-3220. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-859-3220. 800-859-3220 or biglou.com.
It's the Boat Show, February 1st through the 4th at Mountain America Expo.
Save $2 at UtahBoatShow.com.
The Boat Show, fun for the whole family.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a cougar that found its way into a neighborhood in West Valley is back where he belongs. Second, people who don't like Utah's new flag are trying to get a little more time to gather signatures on a referendum to oppose it. And third, Apple's new $3,500 virtual reality headset is now for sale. And right now, 43 degrees with rain in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The first, the only Attorney General for the state of Utah passed away yesterday. And for me personally, having sat with Jan Graham, conducting television news interviews for stories I was working on, it just ripped my heart out. She served 8 years as Utah's Attorney General from 93 to 2001, and for me, that was never long enough. But that's what she wanted. And in that time, she was genuinely, and I mean with this every ounce of my DNA, she was genuinely the perfect balance of integrity and toughness that Utah needed. And there's so many things that she did to leave her mark that I want to honor her just for the next few minutes.
A couple of things come to mind. Debbie, you know my family's been involved with victims' rights for decades now. And she was a champion of the victim. And she pushed hard for victims' rights. And I think when we look at the history of the victim impact statement, she was crucial in making sure that that was crafted properly, that victims do have a say in the sentencing. So her legacy is incredible. I think a lot of times when we look at what's going on in the Attorney General's office over the last couple of decades, it's been filled with scandal. It's been filled with drama. And she was just one of those professionals that did the job and really had, as you said, quite the amazing legacy.
Was a Democrat, but reached always across the aisle to befriend her Republican counterparts in the legislature, in the governor's office. Deseret News reminded me that when I read their article, she was a founding member of the Women Lawyers of Utah. To your point about victims, Dave, she also created the Children's Justice Centers, which, if you're not familiar with these are critical for kids. They're a place to go where they can feel safe. when talking to police, especially when there's something going on in their home life that rises to the level where there needs to be law enforcement involvement. And then back in the day, she pursued the fight against tobacco companies, so we could get funds here to help treat those who are suffering from lung cancer as a result of smoking. Scott Howell, former state senator, also a fellow Democrat, you sent out a statement last night. It was very heartfelt in memory of Jan Graham. And thank you so much for joining us this morning on the show.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, Deb and Dave. I really, it's great to be with you and to talk about such a wonderful leader in our community. And Deb, you pretty much summed up everything about Jan. That is a woman of substance, a woman of integrity. And Dave, I appreciate what you said about victims' rights, because I watched her battle so many things while she was in office. And, one of the things I remember about Jan, this is kind of interesting, during the impeachment of President Clinton, she publicly challenged congressional Republicans to swear that they had never had an extramarital affair themselves. And that's just the type of person Jan was. Very redeeming. She wanted to make sure that there was fairness in everything. And she was the first one to really understand the internet. I'll never forget, I was sitting in my office and I worked for IBM professionally. She came in and she said, "Tell me about this internet and what's it going to do with alcohol and tobacco and identity theft and child pornography." And
wow.
She was bringing all these things up to me. And I go, "Jan, you should work for IBM. We need you over there." And she was really good, but she was one of the very first that found the Office of Internet Crimes for Children Task Force. I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
But it was you're exactly right. And that's probably when you were with the FBI, Deb, that you were
I
involved
actually
in
was
those
reporting on ICAC back way when it started. And I do remember this. In fact, Dan Baumas from our newsroom walked over to our show prep area this morning, Scott. Do you remember this Pat Bagley cartoon, political cartoon? It's probably in the Salt Lake Tribune. So the story behind it is you see somebody, a woman dressed in a business suit, and successfully entering law school. Well, Jan goes to take her LSAT at BYU in the 70s. She shows up at a testing center on campus. It might not have been her LSAT, but it was a testing center, and you're laughing already because Jan was wearing pants at the time, which was a violation of the WISE dress code. So what does Jan Graham do? She leaves. She takes off her pants. She wraps herself in a long overcoat. She goes back and takes her test.
What a memory you have. What a memory.
Well, this is straight from Dan Baumas, who's been in the news business as long as I have been here, or probably a little bit longer. Dan might have a few years on me, but he brought this up, and I like that. This is exactly what Jan found.
Solutions
to a problem in the moment. She got her test taken. Oh, it was a cartoon for the Daily Universe. Excuse me. It was a cartoon. I guess it was a cartoon for the Daily Universe. So, this was Jan Graham, but she was even beyond that. She left a legacy for that office, and Dave said it earlier, that since then we as Utahns have not felt. We have not felt. But Jan was full of integrity and leadership and toughness. She was all that and more wrapped into the first female AG, and so far the only female AG for the state of Utah.
And Democrat. I want to emphasize that because there's only like 5 of us, and I need to emphasize it. But one of the things, what you just shared there, Debbie, is so emblematic of Jan Graham. She was a problem solver. She never once came into my office and said, "We can't fix this." It was always, how can we fix this? What can we do in order to make this better? And I remember one time so well, Governor Mike Leavitt and they were defending a really strict abortion law. Now, this is one that said no abortions, period. And I voted against that bill in the Senate. And I did because my faith teaches me that abortion in the case of rape, incest, health and life of the mother, and extreme fetal deformities is a choice that they should be able to make. And I said, you all in here, I thought we were all the same faith, and to ban abortions completely. Well, Mike took her on, and she said it's going to cost millions of dollars. We won't win. She was right, and she was the first one to fight Utah's English-only law. People don't know about that, and she was just amazing, and she was so pragmatic. She was one of these political figures that I wish we had more of today. To be able to sit down and come to a compromise. And how she got that tobacco litigation, it was just amazing. It was just so amazing. And she worked so close with our Washington delegation at that time. And she was one of the best individuals to lead out on the tobacco settlement, and we got it.
We got it.
And, one other thing that I think is kind of humorous, some of my colleagues didn't like her, okay? They thought she was too strong a woman. They passed some legislation that tried to take power out of Jan's office. And I don't know if you remember this.
I do.
Yeah, Jan came in and said, okay, you want to take power out? I've got a better idea. Why don't you get your own legal counsel? And we passed a bill for Governor Leavitt to do that. But again, there is the solution of Queen of being able to find the way to do things in a better way and create win-wins for everyone.
Well, Scott, thank you for joining us and helping us remember the life of Jan Graham.
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A water and sewer line break left a giant mess in Sandy. Residents, though, are grateful for the response. KSL TV's Andrew Adams has more.
Angela Profsgaard says she came outside to find a river gushing down Silver Sage Drive. Profsgaard says as bad as it was, the disaster could have been even worse.
I have this infrastructure of people, community, and public servants to come and respond.
Other residents said they were extremely grateful for the city crews that responded. Fans are crying foul over season ticket prices for University of Utah football games next fall. Season ticket holders got their renewal notices yesterday. The school says prices are going up less than 5% on average, but there's one less home game, so the cost per ticket has gone up. Our national story this hour from ABC News. Biden administration celebrating today's surprisingly strong jobs report. Shows the U.S. economy gained 353,000 new jobs in January, way above expectations. Acting Secretary of Labor Julie Su said she thinks many of those layoffs are due to bad corporate practices.
Large, private equity firms coming in, buying up things like news outlets, right? It's killing off local media, which is so important. And then, laying people off instead of investing in their people.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 81 points on the day right now. The NASDAQ is up 275 points right now. Just ahead, it looks like our rain is going to stick around through the day at least. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
It's the movie show, guys. We are live at NPS, a nice place to save. They've got 4 locations along the Wasatch Front from Layton to Orem, 2 of them here in Salt Lake. We're at the grocery side of things at 1600 South Empire Road in Salt Lake City, and you guys have got amazing deals today. Igor leaves, Julie, and he comes back with marshmallows that are filled with chocolate.
Oh.
So you can put a marshmallow in your hot chocolate, and it'll melt, and you'll have marshmallow and an even more chocolatey hot chocolate.
I'm not sure that's going to go in your diet situation there, bro.
Give me another week.
My goodness, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah,
so,
and these are
you
$4.
literally own the store. I don't get it.
I know. I need to get out more often.
So, Igor, how much can you get those for?
These are $4 in the store. Our price is 50 cents because of the movie show. So it's
What?
special.
Oh, because see,
Oh.
50 cents for the chocolate-filled giant, the big marshmallows. The big
I'm going
marshmallows.
to grab those.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I want some of those.
Oh, I see some candy that I love.
These ones?
Because for the movie show, you want to put candy on sale.
Yes. These are $1.99 today because of the movie show. They're regularly $4 in the store.
Can we say what they are?
Well, we can say that they are sweet and sour candy. 12
Sweet
ounce.
and sour candy that are
Wink,
shaped
wink.
like
Our-
people.
Our name brand.
That are shaped like young people and are name brand. And $1.99 for the big bag. Now, that's an awesome deal, too. And plus, you got these fresh strawberries sitting here on the table that I want to sneak one of.
They're perfect, aren't they?
Oh,
They're beautiful.
yes.
Absolutely beautiful.
You can't eat a strawberry?
Not yet.
What
But close.
Yeah,
We're getting
2 pounds.
close.
2 pounds for $2.49.
2 pounds for $2.50 of fresh strawberries. These are the deals that you can get in grocery. And, Julie, you want to say hi to a special listener right now?
Yes, I want to say a shout out to my mother.
Aw.
She is listening. Sorry.
That's okay.
I love you, Mom.
But one of the cool things, Steve, that you always say about NPS is just the family feeling that's here.
Yes, I spent a whole commercial talking about the people here, and that's what I love about this place. You, Igor, and everybody that works here, Sonda, all of them. They're just a great group of people.
Yeah,
Well,
we're very fortunate to work here at MPS. I want to say hello to Elaine. She's an amazing lady, and she founded this company with her husband Kelly over 50 years ago.
And they worked really hard.
Yes,
They
and
worked really
and
hard.
it's an amazing concept because the customers come and save. We employees have good paying jobs. It's an amazing company.
Yeah.
So come and feel the love and save a bunch of money on a bunch of stuff that you actually want and have the thrill of the hunt is what they call it here
Yes.
at NPS.
It is fun.
Layton, Orem, and 2 locations here in Salt Lake City at 1600 South Empire Road.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
Well, lots of problems with slide-offs this morning. The Jackknife semi over on the West Side Belt is gone, and that's back to normal there now. But we had a slide-off at eastbound I-80 at Redwood Road. That's what that was. They got that car up onto a tow truck and just took off with it, but you still have emergency vehicles on scene. And we have another one now. This is eastbound I-80 to go southbound on 215. Off to the left, and there's actually some problems on the right as well, so you're going to have to go slow on that ramp. Everything else, though, is looking pretty fantastic besides the rain. Attention Wasatch Front business and property managers. Go Pave Utah's full-service parking lot paving, repair, and maintenance company serving the Wasatch Front. Contact Go Pave Utah today, gopavutah.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, rain across the Wasatch Front today. The snow level drops to about 5,000 feet this afternoon, and we could see more than a foot of snowfall in Utah's northern mountains by Saturday morning. And right now, 43 degrees with light rain. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, where Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
We know that today President Biden was expected or is expected to meet with the families of those 3 Army reservists who were killed in a drone strike in Jordan as their bodies arrive back on American soil. We also know that the Pentagon is preparing its response to that attack that killed those 3 Army reservists and injured dozens of others. Here's Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin.
How much Iran knew or didn't know, we don't know. But it really doesn't matter because Iran sponsors these groups. It funds these groups. They have a lot of capability. I have a lot more.
That is so true. They have a lot of capability. We have a lot more. What we will do next, though, is a big question mark because there are militia groups all over the Middle East. In Lebanon, you have Hezbollah. In Yemen, you have the Houthis. Iranian-backed militia groups all over the place. In Syria and Iraq. News Nation's Hannah Doba joins us right now, anchor for the weekend edition of Morning in America. Hannah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the show.
Have we learned anything more about the attack itself?
the attack itself, right now, we know the U.S. is preparing for retaliatory strikes for those drone attacks. The issue is, it's not really an issue. They're pretty tight-lipped about it. We know it's a matter of when and not if. As far as the drone attack details, they're slowly trickling in. What we do know is that, a lot of people are speaking. They want to stay anonymous because this is a battleground. But it was that one-way enemy-attacked drone that approached the base around the same time that a U.S. surveillance drone was in the sky, and that caused a lot of confusion, and that's why the U.S. military wasn't able to block the drone coming in from Jordan to Jordan, of course, that killed those 3 military members.
Hannah Doba, a new voice here with us at KSL News Radio. She's also the anchor of the weekend edition of Morning in America for News Nation. We're excited to have you for a lot of reasons as you help us track the big stories over the weekend, Hannah, and also help us as well keep an eye on these big stories here through our lens with our team of reporters and producers. And it still sounds like the public and the media isn't really clued in yet on when this could happen. But we're pretty certain it will happen because the Biden administration, President Biden himself, has been talking about this all week long.
You're absolutely right. And they're not mentioning, all they're saying is, look, there are going to be multiple targets. They're not mentioning whether it's going to be in Iran, outside of Iran, or both. Only that it's going to happen. And President Biden is in a difficult situation here because he does know, or he is stating, that it's a lot of these Middle Eastern terrorist groups that are conducting these attacks. But on the same hand, he also is saying that he doesn't want the war or the violence to spread across the Middle East. That's a very thin line that he's walking on. So you can tell the White House is being very, very careful about what they're releasing to the media with everything that's going on in that region.
Is the White House afraid that this retaliation will trigger an even bigger conflict down the road?
Absolutely, especially what we saw, it was short-lived, but what we saw with Pakistan and Iraq just a few weeks ago, there were so many hotspots in that region, as you guys well know, and he is afraid. Well, we know it's a tinderbox. I think he's afraid to match, that light, match that matchstick, and just make it even worse, because we know the world is watching America and how the country or our president is responding to all these issues in the Middle East.
One of the other stories we're going to be keeping an eye on here is, and I know you will too at News Nation, is that it's been 1 year since that train carrying those hazardous chemicals derailed. It was February 3rd of 2023 in Ohio, and that town, there was evacuations, there was water contamination. Will the president be heading that way this weekend as well?
We know the president is heading to East Palestine in February. We have not gotten any dates yet, which is a little surprising because we really did expect a date just so the media gets some notice and we're all on the ground there. Our Rich McHugh is actually on the ground in East Palestine, like you mentioned. It's a story News Nation has been following for a very long time. A year later, and a lot of these residents are still saying, look, there's an issue here. They think that the nation has moved on. They feel forgotten. And we have to remember, President Biden has not visited this area since the derailment. On the other hand, his political rival, former President Trump, was there a few days after the catastrophe. Former President Trump did take to Truth Social after the announcement came out that President Biden will be going to this town in Ohio. He did criticize him. He said this is more of a political propaganda, that he's really just going there for the vote. As far as the residents there, though, they are frustrated that President Biden hasn't come to their small town, especially when he's gone to Maui. He's gone to so many other places. Not only that, he hasn't declared a state of emergency in Ohio. So that also means they're not getting all the funding that they think they need. Let's talk about their health problems too, guys, because a lot of them, even though it's been a year, the EPA says ground zero, where the derailment happened, is clean, it's clear. But if you talk to the residents, they have sore throats. A lot of them are throwing up. They have constant headaches. And they are fearing long-term impacts. Who's going to pay those medical bills? Their property value is going down. This happened in Ohio-Pennsylvania border. On the other hand, Pennsylvania, or those residents on that side of the border, are saying Ohio's getting, or East Palestine's getting all the attention, and they're not. So they feel a little bit ignored as the media and, so many lawmakers are heading to East Palestine. As far as the president, we know he's going to be there in the next this month. We're hoping in the next few days. Karine Jean-Pierre, his press secretary, she is asked a lot about why he hasn't gone since. She says it's not a political stunt. She's going when he's going to go when the president thinks it's the right time to go. She's also always pushed on whether the president will drink the water, because a lot of residents believe it's contaminated. And, she doesn't really answer that question. And I'm only bringing that up because almost every press conference when East Palestine is mentioned, reporters are always asking, well, is he going to drink the water? How long is he going to stay? So it's all those things that I think the world, certainly the media, will be watching as well.
Well, thank you for joining us, Hannah Doba, News Nation's anchor of the weekend edition of Morning in America. Thank you.
And it is true that it's one of those stories of News Nation has been following it, but a lot of people, outside of Ohio, and if you aren't keeping a close watch on the latest, we just forget about it. These people are still suffering and dealing with it from, as she just reported, health impacts, fears that their property values are plummeting. The question as to whether the EPA says one thing, but is that accurate? Will the president drink the water?
It sounds a little bit like a stunt of whether or not is he going to drink the water or not. It's a fair question. It is a fair question. How confident are you that what is going on with these residents are consuming every single day, what they're bathing and washing their clothes in, what they're consuming, is it safe? Absolutely, the president should be drinking that water. And if he's not, then you've got to address it.
We'll be keeping an eye on those same stories over the weekend. And when you tune back in with us Monday at 9 a.m., we'll be bringing you the latest. Also the Grammys this weekend. That's right. Oh, if Barbie doesn't win for something.
The song?
Something, right?
It's Just Ken. I'm Just Ken.
It's got
Who's Just Ken?
It's got to win for something, right? Or I'll be mad come Monday. Okay. I was looking for something to watch last night and streaming. Rarely sit down on the television to become a couch potato, but I definitely morphed into the sofa last night, and I was just flipping. And as we know, Steve and Andy, now hosting the movie show every Friday from 11 to 1, they're on standby with us to give us some tips on what's on streaming that we can watch on this rainy Utah weekend.
It's Friday with Dave and Dujanovic.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
He's going to sell stuff.
The movie show guys, Andy and Steve, we are live at the NPS store in Salt Lake City at 1600 Empire Road. And Steve, I learned a lesson the hard way. Igor and Julie, I learned a lesson the hard way. I was going to buy a big old flat of club soda that you guys had here last time, but I didn't need it right that second. And I was like, you know what? It was here this time from the last time. It'll be here next time I showed up. Just went to go check so I could get it. It was gone.
And what have you said 1,000 times?
And what has Igor always told me?
You snooze, you lose.
That's right.
And I
You
snoozed, and I loosed.
That's right.
Did you get your strawberries?
Not yet. I only had a little
They're
bit
flying.
of time, but yeah. I mean, people are got these full carts. I just watched somebody who has a gorgeous dress. You guys are having a sale on dresses for Valentine's Day.
Look
right
at that
now.
thing. It's like lit up.
It glows in the light. It's amazing looking.
That would look amazing.
Oh,
on
yes,
you now
and
that
our
you've lost
designer-
all that weight.
Oh, yeah.
I can fit into
you
it
could
finally.
fit into it, yes.
All dresses 60% off for Valentine's.
60, and that's off
Yes.
to 30 to 70% regular, and that's for the retail side.
And our designer bags that are very high-end.
20% off.
20% off.
And that doesn't happen
yeah.
very often. You guys aren't
No.
able to discount those extra usually.
Well, because we've already got it discounted, and online they're bags that people use for investments.
And
things
it's
too.
Valentine's, right? And I've
Yes.
heard that girls like designer bags. Is that true?
Oh yes. Well, they like any type of handbag. I love them. So, and our other bags, 500 or less, are 50% off. Additional 50% off of what our low price
There's bags
is.
that are more than $500.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Wow.
But those that are more than $500 are 20% off.
Well, there it is.
Such a deal.
But yeah, no, if you're going to get those name brand designer bags that cost more than $500, taking 20%, this is when you want to try to grab it. So that's a great point. So much going on here at NPS. 4 locations, 1150 North Main in Layton, 475 North State Norm. So Utah and Davis counties don't have to drive all the way to Salt Lake. But if you're in the Salt Lake
And they
Valley,
have great deals at the Layton store in
The Lake
groceries,
store,
right?
in groceries, it's all been reset and everything, and it's MPS pricing. And we have the same apples up there, so if you don't want to come down here, if you're up in Layton, stay in Layton and go shop at MPS or Layton.
So how do you like them apples?
So
Yes.
get some great deals on
Yes.
grocery, get some great deals on clothing, get some great deals on Valentine's Day items for 11. You guys have a saying, dream, what does it make your desires come true?
That is true.
Yeah?
That's right.
A customer just told me.
Well, there you go. Can't say it better than that at NPS.
It's been all over the news.
Blood banks across the country are facing critical shortages.
The levels at Utah's blood banks are critical.
Right now, we're facing a critical shortage of blood.
KSL News Radio has teamed up with ARUP Blood Services in Sandy this February to help you find your perfect match. Listen for uplifting stories about the miracle of blood donation and learn how you can help save a life. Find your perfect match. Give blood. More details at kslnewsradio.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a water main break left a giant sinkhole in Sandy. Second, you'll pay more to attend Utah football games next fall, and people are complaining. And third, there were a lot more jobs last month than economists were expecting. Right now, 43 degrees with light rain in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Before we get to Andy and Steve, who are at standby for the movie show, which starts in just a few minutes, it's secret contest time, friends. This one is for our podcast listeners. We love your loyalty Monday through Friday, starting at 9, the Dave and Dujanovic show on the radio, but you can also podcast our show by going to kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen to podcasts, and you got to listen for the keywords and then text it to 57500. But Dave had the privilege and the honor of voicing all the keywords.
I tried to enunciate them well so you could actually understand. All you got to do is text us 57500 and you're entered into the win category. You could win some AirPod Pros.
All right.
Some sweet new AirPod Pros. They're brand new. They're not used. They're not recycled. They're not refurbished.
I'm excited. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast and then listen and try to win.
The following preview has been rated G and is appropriate for all audiences.
It's time for the movie show in T-minus 6.5 minutes. And so thankful to have Steve and Andy on standby with us right now. I was scrolling through, I think it was Hulu.
You think if the company hadn't matched you, you'd be compatible?
You're sitting underneath a shelter.
Was it
I made.
Hulu or
No.
was I on Prime Video? I don't have Prime Video, but Mr. and Mrs. Smith is back.
A remake?
like
guys.
streaming services are advertising on each other's services. It's really weird.
Is that?
Yeah,
oh,
it is kind of
I
weird.
didn't know that because I didn't click on it. I was watching something else last night, and now I can't even remember what I was watching. I was so tired I fell asleep. Okay, so tell us what's on streaming, you guys.
Well, the big one is like what you just played the clip from. That's Donald Glover and Maya Erskine in a. It's a series version of what we saw in the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, it was inspired by that film, but it is not that film.
It is not. It's a different story, different characters, and but the premise is two people who are spies are married to each other. That's about the only similarity.
And they go in knowing that, whereas in the movie, they didn't know that each other were working for separate agencies, and then they got ticked off. So this one, they're married from the get-go. They have a marriage certificate, and they have rings, and it's like all legit. And they're like, okay, guess we're married. And
nice to meet you.
Yeah, and the thing is that they're on missions, so there's a lot of stuff going on, but they start wearing on each other a little bit like, man, you're kind of smarter than I am. How does that work? You keep solving these missions before I can. And their marriage begins to be strained as the series goes on.
Is there any real-life home wrecking that goes on?
Well, no, I was going to say Donald Glover, to my knowledge, is not married to any starlet, so that Maya Erskine can't break it up, or vice versa.
Yeah, no, there's no crossover to reality.
What's the greatest night in pop? That's PG-13, right? Is it on Netflix? Is that good?
Yeah, that actually played at Sundance.
Oh, yay!
It is really good.
Okay,
surprisingly good.
Hold on,
I've been recommending that to people all week.
Is it this?
That's what it is.
Yeah, it was after the AMAs. They recorded. Quincy Jones said, "Let's get everybody together," and people were flying in that weren't even at the AMA American Music Awards, and they stayed up all night making this song.
Right, which is a huge
They weren't even
hit.
done writing it when they started recording it.
Oh,
they were making up words in the middle of
Wow.
yeah.
I love Cyndi Lauper's voice in that. You know who was left out of that was John Denver. Just saying.
Yeah, but there's a line about John Denver during it.
Is there?
Where
It
was he?
was a line by one of the actor. Paul Simon said something to the effect of, "If a bomb hit this place, John Denver will be number one."
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Because 50 of the best musicians in the world were all sitting there, and he and Prince weren't there.
Yeah, but I mean that's a kind of a slight to John Denver, who probably had a bigger hits at that time in 1984 than some of the people that were included in that. So I mean, that's worth pointing out.
Well, and John Denver's thing was feeding kids. Like that was he'd done it forever. Like he was a huge advocate. So it was kind of really a slap in the face in many different ways.
At the same time, one of the things they point out in the documentary was Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson. They were like, we're trying to feed African kids. We in the black community need to be leading out on this.
Yeah.
So that was actually a specific thing. They wanted it to be led by those black artists.
So they invited Billy Joel and Steve Perry?
Well, no, that said led. That's a fair point, but led out by.
By the end of the night, Quincy said, "Man, those white guys can really sing."
This might inspire me to get back on Netflix. I've been off Netflix for a hot minute, just because I couldn't find anything to watch. But I found myself kind of scrolling last night on Hulu and I don't even know HBO Max, and I couldn't find anything there to watch. So, any other recommendations? Any other ones I have to download this weekend? Any streaming services?
Well, if you get Netflix, Debbie, they actually have a thing where it says, "I don't know what to watch," and you press a button, and based on what you've watched in the past, it starts playing something. It doesn't even suggest a show. It starts playing an episode or a movie of something.
Yeah, but we can do
for
better
you to
than
start.
that. On Hulu, or no, Peacock would have Poker Face.
Oh, that's a good one.
I've got Peacock.
So Poker Face is
Poker
a series.
Face with Natasha Lyonne on Hulu.
Hilarious.
Is that good?
And American Nightmare, is that on Netflix?
That one's on Netflix also.
That's like a 3-part crime thing that you won't believe. Having worked for the FBI, it's gonna blow your mind.
Okay, I'm gonna print out your list. I've got it right here in front of me. Your list of suggestions. I'm gonna take it home with me so I don't forget this weekend. It's gonna be a perfect.
Now it might
weekend.
cost you $40 a month for Netflix at this point. I don't know, the way the prices keep going up every month.
guys.
Oh, and on
I'm
HBO
priced
Max,
out.
True Detective with Jodie Foster is amazing.
I love her acting. I love her acting.
Now you can fall asleep to all of those.
And then, of course, you got Masters of the Air on Apple TV Plus.
That's right.
And I don't have that, but that sounds incredible too. Okay, well, you guys are going to go over all of this in the movie show. Plus, you're going to talk about the hot movie of the week, right?
Yeah, we are.
I knew it.
It's the big movie of the week,
The
that's
big movie,
for sure.
but not the hot movie of the week. You guys are the best. I love having you guys on from 11 to 1 every Friday now to help us through the drive-through line to get our hamburgers. So, Andy and Steve, have fun from 11 to 1 today. And I'm going to go home and, re-up my Netflix subscription, Dave.
Yeah, because you said you love a little We Are the World.
I love Huey Lewis.
There you go. You got your Cyndi Lauper in there.
I love this song. Let's go out on it. Happy weekend, everybody.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. One of the prosecutors involved with the case against Chad Daybell is leaving just before that case goes to trial. KSL News Radio's Becky Bruce reports.
Rachel Smith is a member of the team that's been prosecuting Chad Daybell since March 2021. She didn't say why she's leaving. In a statement, Madison County prosecuting attorney Rob Wood told the East Idaho News Smith has been an invaluable team member and was integral to securing the conviction of Lori Daybell last year.
And currently, Chad Daybell's trial is scheduled to begin on April 1st. He's pleaded not guilty to charges of conspiracy and murder in the deaths of his wife Lori's 2 children and his late first wife, Tammy. Crews broke ground this week on a new Children's Justice Center in Ogden. This will replace an outdated facility that was in a building built in the early 1900s. Workers there say it's far too small for the number of cases they handle. The center serves kids 17 and under who suffer either sexual or physical abuse. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A teenager from California now in custody in Florida, accused of calling in a fake mass shooting involving a mosque in Orlando. And it turns out now he's suspected of making many more swatting calls for money. ABC's Alex Stone has more.
The allegation is this 17-year-old has been at home in Lancaster, California, desert community, making money by charging up to $75 per call for people